so blessed to be joined by a number of my site family that I've known, some of them for decades. And I just look forward to all the conversation we're going to have today. You know, CIS, CITP, any certification kind of is your passport to promotions. And right now, with the current state of the world and our dear incentive travel industry, as well as the hospitality industry, there's many individuals looking to invest in themselves through certification and knowledge learning, webinars, making soda bread. I'm sure Patrick Delaney can tell us how to do that later, playing the ukulele, whatever you're doing, but people are taking the time, this pause, to really build upon themselves and what they can do. So we're going to talk today about certification and other education and why we think as our site family that it's worth your investment in time. So allow me to introduce our team today, starting with Patrick Delaney. Patrick, just tell us, you know, your name and company and what you miss about not traveling to IMEX this year.
Okay, well, I'm Patrick Delaney. I'm managing partner of Sulnu. I'm based in Ireland, and I was past president of CITE, the CITE International Board, and the CITE Foundation. What do I miss about IMEX? Most of all, I miss my friends, but I also miss my training regime because I'm an IMEX trained person. I train for my 5K. I do it in Las Vegas and I do it in Frankfurt. So IMEX keeps me fit. So I really miss being fit.
That's great. Dana, over to you.
Sure. Dana Weaver with GrowMark, Senior Manager of Marketing here and also a trustee on the CITE Foundation. And what I miss most about IMEX is all the networking, especially at a booth, maybe late afternoon during hospitality time.
Bravo. Bradley.
Yes, I'm Brad Hecht. I'm Vice President of Travel for Motivation Excellence. I'm based in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I also serve on the board of directors for CITE currently. And I think the thing I miss most are the wonderful people that I've met over my years that represent all walks of life, all corners of the globe that I don't get to talk to and engage with. I really, really miss that.
I agree. Daryl.
Daryl Keywood. I'm Managing Director at Walters, a DMC that covers Southern Africa, and on the CITE Board of Directors and VP of Education. So that's where I fit in. Sure, I miss a lot about IMEX, and I think, you know, seeing clients, seeing friends, chasing Pat around the 5K, maybe I don't miss that as much. But interestingly enough, we come from a part of the world where distances are large, even within my own country of South Africa. And what I really enjoy is on the last day of the show, after everything's packed up, a few of the South Africans that never see each other in their own country go out and enjoy a meal and enjoy Vegas. Great. And now our beautiful ladies, Ria.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ria Sagner. I'm VP of Supplier Relations with Merritt's Global Events. I reside in St. Louis, Missouri, but I'm excited to share with you that I am actually in Las Vegas right now. And so, this aligns so well. What I miss most, missing the energy of being with all of our IMEX friends from around the globe. Brad, you said it so well, just seeing our friends from around the world coming together in this industry we all love so much, and the energy and the buzz that we have when we're all together. And I too served on the CITE Foundation as many roles for many years. So thank you and happy to be here.
Thank you. Eda.
Hi, everybody. I'm with MEP in Istanbul, Turkey, MEP DMC. I also serve on the CITE Board of Directors. And of course, I think it's very telling that every single person here said they missed how much they miss the people and their friends, their global friends. I think that's just is so telling of live events and how we all miss being together. For me, it's the Wednesday night dinners where we would ditch every client, every event we could have, and that night would sometimes end in even oxygenless casinos, and still I just miss that so much. Never thought I'd miss Vegas this much, so.
That's great. I totally agree. My name is Jen Glynn. I'm the 2020 CITE Global President. My other day job is Managing Partner for Meeting Encore and Intuitive Conferences and Events. I miss IMEX, like everybody said, for the connections and getting to see so many of our site family that we don't get to see throughout the year, but also building those new connections with people that you've had an email correspondence with, and you really get to have a more heart-to-heart conversation face-to-face. So we look forward to being at IMEX Frankfurt, many of us, I'm sure, or if not, IMEX America 2021. So without further ado, CITE as a community really has invested over the years in the incentive travel professional's career and their path. And that starts with the basic introduction of our certified incentive specialist. That is now the third largest certification in, I think, the world is what I heard, but we'll get clarification on that. But it's just that knowledge sharing that people, as they're entering the incentive travel industry, need. So that's our CIS. And then we've recently, in the last few years, also introduced the Certified Incentive Travel Professional Program. And that certification was really designed to have demonstrative knowledge of the incentive travel industry. We wanted to make sure that you could not just read a textbook and write the exam. We really wanted you to demonstrate that you had an understanding of the North American agency buyer outbound and their needs. And that can be on the supplier or planner side. And what I mean by that is, to be a better professional in this industry, you need to understand your customer's point of view as well as what your responsibilities are as a hotel or a DMC. So that was rolled out a few years ago, and that's our manager to director level. We've also have a certified incentive travel executive program. Although it's been put on pause for the last few years, we do have a number of members in our association that are CITE. And during this year, we've actually gone back and done a lot of focus groups and are working on what that next level of executive level certification is for our site members. But in the meantime, as one of our benefits to our site community members, we've offered our education. So we have different tracks of education that are available in our Knowledge Hub that are complimentary to our members right now. We've also just recently hosted a CITP exam, and the chapters around the world, I was so amazed with, just really came together, and whoever could have an in-person CITP exam hosted it the week of September 21st. And we had about 220 people write the exam at that time. So we're looking forward to getting those results shortly. And then all that education in order for them to prep for that is also offered complimentary right now for our members. So those are the CITP overview modules, which are just a general overview and will give you a background of what type of topics. So that's kind of just what we do within CITE. We're always continuing to look at different options. We're also developing a new kind of mid-tier between the CIS and CITP called Incentive Travel Academy. We're working on making that available online so that different destination marketing organizations can sponsor that for their local community as well. So, the more education and the more professional level individuals we have in our industry, the higher our industry is elevated. So, let's just kind of jump into the meat of it. The people that are listening, a lot of them who might be found themselves furloughed or unemployed right now, really want to know from all of you, is this going to make a difference if I get certified? What kind of skills and what kind of things do you check off when you're looking at your initial candidates? Because I can tell you from when I'm hiring, you put a job ad on LinkedIn per se, or Monster or whatever. Right now, you get 1,000 applications, and that was pre-pandemic. So I can't even imagine the number of applications. So how do you kind of root that down to the individual that you think might meet your needs? I'll turn it to you first, Brad.
Well, great question. There are probably about 5 or 6 different things I look at, and I'll try to hit it real quickly. First, I want to look at a skill set of a candidate, technology background, what can they do, what current tools are they using. I want to look at their educational background from their schooling, practical hands-on experience, their career track record. So have they been stable in a position, promotions along the way, or are they a job hopper, that kind of thing. But one thing I really key in on is personal growth and dedication. So what does that mean to me? It's what are they doing within our industry? Are they going above and beyond their job to really be a part of our industry and really make a contribution? Certifications play in that. So that helps me know that they are dedicated, they want to learn, they want to be the best they can be in those positions. So it's really, really important to me in my hiring practices that they show this trend of wanting to grow. That's how I would probably sum it up as quickly as I could.
Perfect. Rhea, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I completely agree with Brad. It's that commitment to, right? And it also, I think for us, not just about the hiring practices of brand new people, but it also helps, you know, as we're looking at someone's, you know, their growth plan and encouraging them to continue to learn the industry, and not just what they learn in the walls of Merit's global events and with our customers, but also what else is out there. So it helps give them a more well-rounded view as well of just our world. So it's always important. And again, we really encourage it. And it's exciting for us to actually have that opportunity, because for years we had no education that was specific to incentive travel. So to finally have education that is specific to what we do, yes, we do meetings, we do a million other things too, but to have that certification was so important to us and very exciting as well.
Great, thank you. I want to pick up on a point that Brad said as well. Is, you know, it's looking above and beyond your resume and what else that you're doing out there in the industry. We just had a Young Leaders Conference at the end of September. Etta was very involved in that. And one of the things we said to the young leaders there is, you know, we talked about certification and education, but we also talked about volunteerism and going above and beyond your job, because as a new event professional outside of, you know, just graduating, you may not have the years of experience, but if you've demonstrated that during your time at school or within a site community or another event association that you've volunteered and had practical experience organizing events. I mean, for example, when I was at the University of Guelph, I organized every event and every party, my mother will tell you. So, but that experience is also very relevant as well. So, Etta, I just want to talk to you about, you know, Rhea and Brad really touched upon how things are valuable to them when they're looking at hiring people. But for you as an individual, as you were looking to be more, develop your own self professionally, how do you think education and certification helped you?
I think there's two sides to it, Jen. First of all, it's education and certifications helped me with the information that I was learning while trying to obtain that certification. So especially if you haven't studied tourism and hospitality, but even if you have, incentives are not as big of a part of it as we would like. Especially if you haven't studied those, this gives you the this kind of like targeted education and certification gives you the tools, the trends, the fundamentals, and that simply that language to be able to connect to peers from all over. And that ranges from knowing the right acronyms to knowing which events to talk about or relate to people. So it's really helped me connect with people because I had taken these certifications. And in the second sense, it's whether it's selling yourself, you know, as your personal brand, or being in the sales and marketing role for your company, being able to speak that language and connect with the clients from, like, for example, with CITP, from that point of view, has helped me so much when it comes to talking at the same level, even if you aren't on the same level, even if you aren't on the same experience level. It just gives you the that self-confidence that you know what you're talking about. So it's really helped me personally, and also just being a part of that community of being able to say, I've put in this time, I've put in this effort. I think it just gives you more, earns you more respect overall. And it just gives you more confidence when talking to people, especially who have a lot more experience than you in the industry. So I've really benefited from that in all my professional and personal communications that, throughout the years.
I think you've just touched on a big word, which is respect, right? I mean, we're all inundated every day with a number of emails and sales emails. Jill Harrington and I just had an armchair conversation called, she wrote a book called Uncommon Sense, and she's with Sales Shift, but that's available on our site. But she talks about just that respect and being able to communicate effectively to the right audience in the right way, because I mean, I've had examples. I mean, some of the emails I get, I just delete because they're literally ridiculous at how poorly crafted they are. And when they're trying to target you with, you know, I have a large convention space and I want this, and so they're not understanding what you're looking for your clients. They're just throwing spaghetti at a wall, so to speak. So Daryl, you know, as a business owner and an entrepreneur, how have you used this education for either your employees or yourself as you've grown your business?
I think, you know, we come from a part of the world where competitively we have loads of competitors, but we are less specialized generally than, for example, in North America or Europe. And there are a number of companies out there that do a very broad range of services for the meetings and events and general tourism industry. So relatively few of them are true specialists. And quite simply, you know, if you're talking to the incentive market and you have a qualification that, you know, at least gives the confidence that you understand what your client needs, it's certainly going to put you one step up the ladder when they're looking at 3 or 4 of your competitors and yourselves. Another point that I think may be overlooked is that, you know, especially for the face-to-face CIS courses that have happened, and I've popped into a few of them over the years just to say hi, the amount of networking that goes on and the number of connections and friendships, you know, you spend a day and a half basically networking while the lectures are happening and in the breaks afterwards. And it's a great opportunity to meet customers actually going on a course. So I don't think one should you know, forget that there is that potential. And then, yeah, I think, you know, once we professionalize our industry, certainly down here in Africa, more and more, it's going to become the standard. You know, you're going to get customers that are coming for the first time to Africa that want to know they're dealing with people who understand their business. And the one thing that our education does offer, whether it's the CIS or CITP, is an understanding of what the customer actually expects and what their goals and objectives are for any kind of program or event. And having that understanding gives you an edge, definitely.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things with this pandemic as well, I mean, obviously we've heightened the awareness of our industry overall, the events industry, the face-to-face industry. And one of the things I've talked to my clients about is how the attendee is going to really hold them accountable for face-to-face events. When they come to having face-to-face, they can't just have a talking head on the screen anymore, because I don't have to leave my home to do that. So how are they going to elevate their event design to meet that attendee exam? And I think that's the same thing's going to happen for, you know, the planners and the agencies are going to be so busy because of the pent-up demand that they're probably also going to have a higher expectation of the supplier model going forward. We've talked about some of those other things on our webinars too, about you know, different crisis management and health and security protocols. So everybody is kind of continuing to put pressure of being better every day by learning and educating. Patrick, you have been very involved in the industry and have a number of certifications. You've been involved with CITE and ADME and other associations over the time. Before I kind of talk to you about what Tourism Island did, can you share just a little bit about kind of your reason for investing in certification?
I'm not that bright, and I have to continuously, I don't mean that as a disrespect to myself or to anybody else, but it's a realization, and it becomes even more apparent the older I get, is that I only know so much. And the wonderful thing about certification is it stretches you. It puts me outside of my comfort level, and I always learn. I learn from the data that I receive, but also, as Daryl rightly pointed out, I learn from the community that surrounds me. And it's that energy and that stimulation and that motivation to push myself beyond what would be my normal limits. And that's really the main benefit for certification for me.
That's great. And I like that because I think that makes a good point, because I think some people are like, oh, I already know all that. I don't need a certification. I don't want to invest the time, et cetera. But all of us, I mean, the one thing that we invested with CITE was that all of our certifications always have a global community of people of volunteer leaders that are investing their time to help develop that. For example, at CITP, we met continuously. We brought people in from all over the world to talk about it. We also worked with a I can't even say what it is, a photometrician or something. It's anyway, a specialist that taught us, about writing exams and writing questions. And we also worked with this partner at protesting, make sure that it's the equivalent level. But the idea, and when we figured out what the kind of the modules that we were looking at that an incentive travel professional needed to know, that was all invested by the volunteer leaders that invested their time. And like the conversations we've had with our focus group on the next level, executive level foundation, were with people around this table. Steve O'Malley at Merritt's was one of the people, Bob at 110, Janet. We went to a lot of people to ask what are they looking for when they want to, and if they're going to invest their money of their company into that VP or managing director level person, what are they looking for? So I think it's always good that we're, as an association, continuing to ask the questions. So Dana, you are one of our CIS facilitators, and you have your CITP as well, and we're involved in that as well. Tell me a little bit too about why you're investing your volunteer time on education and certification.
Well, for me, it's very rewarding. Daryl talked about, he steps into a class and you get to network with different people. But mostly at IMEX, when you step into a CIS class, the class could be 7 people, it could be 30 people, but there could be people there from 7 different countries. And so as an instructor, I get the thrill of getting to meet all these nice people, but as well, learn more from them, I think, than what I actually contribute to the class itself. And the students within a class, they all learn from each other. So Patrick, we did a CIS class in Ireland, for example. And of course, they were all from Ireland. And we did one, and we've done several in Taipei, Taiwan, over the last 4 years, one per year. So when you look at that, those individuals are just from their own country. But like at IMEX, for example, when you have a CIS class, it is a lot of different people from around the world with a lot of different cultures, a lot of different backgrounds, all sectors of the industry. And so it's DMC people learning about a hotelier in Asia. It's about, someone in Europe learning about what goes on in the US. And it's just fun to sit back for 12 hours to really watch people take it all in. You mentioned, you think we know it all at some point in the industry. After so many years, you think, well, I know it all. But you got to remember that for adults, learning is simply remembering what we already know. And so from that aspect, it's a nice review. I've had a lot of students come out with 10, 15 years experience in the industry, and they say it confirmed what I already knew, and I picked up a couple nuggets that I really hadn't thought about.
Well, I think it's great too when you see these individuals from around the world coming together. They're taking that knowledge back to their companies as well. So it's a great investment out beyond just them. Brad, I know you wanted to add to that.
Yeah, no, great answer, Dana. But the thing that I think many of us can relate to, even on this panel, is when we started, there was nothing like this. There was no certification, no opportunity to really grow. We had to do it on our own. There was no mentorship other than maybe your boss. And for our community to come together and share this knowledge to really help everyone grow is the exciting thing for me. I just wanted to get that point in.
That's great. I think when we're talking about investments, we've talked about how we're all investing in ourselves personally, how the corporations are. But Patrick, can you kind of maybe just share the example of Fulcha Ireland and what they did to invest in your community over in Ireland?
Yeah, Jen, I'll use Ireland as the example, but I've been privileged to be involved in many destinations in using the site certification to elevate, as you've rightly said, their community in general to the needs, which are definitely increasing and will increase in the post-pandemic world. Ireland and the folks in Meet in Ireland, led by Ciara Gallagher and Mary Collins, I think it's a challenge that all destinations have. How do you maintain the right standards? How do you ensure that community, particularly the supplier community, is all at the right level, because we all know for an incentive travel program to be successful, the weakest link even is the one that can let you down. So you need to get a very broad community together to be able to deliver a truly exceptional event. So what Ireland decided to do, driven by Meet in Ireland, they hosted and gathered all of those who are interested and who are in that supply community, and brought in the site education through the CIS. Now, they had the option, they could create their own education, but it's a much more efficient, from a time point of view, from a quality point of view, from a cost point of view, to take what is already a proven, really strong certification and share that. And of course, in the medium that site operate, they bring in classic, really experienced instructors. In this case, we were privileged to have Dana, you know, so Ireland got the benefit of Dana's knowledge. He got the community got a chance, the destination got a chance for him to see the destination. So, and they raised the standard of the community in general. And as all of my other presenters rightly said, what also happens, and this is the added benefit for the destination, you build that sense of community, that you build that sense of we help each other to deliver. Because again, based on the fundamental principle, we're only strong if we're all strong together. So kudos to Meet in Ireland for that initiative, and kudos again to all of the other destinations who I'm sure will take a leaf from that book and take the benefit of having the site education and bringing it to their destinations.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's also created a little, I've seen competition between some destinations, because Ireland was quite vocal in tweeting out that they had the most certifications within for a country. And Dana,
and sorry, Jen, I might say the best looking ones as well. Just to add that as a small aside.
Yeah, I'm wearing my Irish green today for you. Cool. Dana, you also were part of one in Taiwan, right?
Absolutely. So I mentioned it briefly, but they've done 4 CIS classes now over the last 4 years. So they have, I'm going to say, over 100 now CIS folks there in the small country of Taiwan. But when you go into that classroom, there's an engagement, an emotional commitment for every student there to gain something from that. And it's on a weekend. It's all day Saturday and half day on Sunday. And so when they come into this, they've already committed to learning something. And, you know, after class, it's very rare that a student will not come up to you and say, thank you, and this is what I learned from today. And it's always something different from every student. And the Titra organization there supports it very much. And it's just a great, you talk about community, it's just a great opportunity for that whole country to come together and see and learn from each other.
That's great. And beyond the destination marketing organizations, we've had other people invest as well. Ria, maybe share what you guys did at Merits Collaborative a couple of years ago, or every year you actually do this.
Yeah, absolutely, Jen. Gosh, I think the first one was 5 years ago. It was the first year that CIS was going to be online. And we decided, Steve O'Malley and I talked, and we have a major supplier merits networking event called Collaborative. And we thought, you know, what a great way to give back to everyone that attends CIS, that attends Collaborative, to offer CIS one of our educational components within our event. And so we did, and it was huge. So we took care of it. We paid for it for all the supplier partners as well, not just our own team members, because we wanted to, again, let's do this together. Let's invest. Site is very important to Merits Global Events. And so we had, I believe, that first year, I think we had almost just shy of 200 people get their CIS together in New York City, and it was a blast. It was super fun. It was great, and we've done it every year since. So we just really felt, again, it's important to give back to our supplier partners that attend the event, but also a great way to continue our support with the CIS and with Site Foundation as well. So it's every year we continue to do it. So it's been 5 full years of supporting it. And then we also did the first year with the CITP. We offered that as well to some senior people within our organization, as well as some of our senior partners within our supplier network. So that was fun as well to offer that to them. And that was just fun because the suppliers were really nervous, right? Because the CITP, as a third party, I think more of it is more natural in what we do in our jobs every day, where for the DMCs and the hoteliers, they really had to think outside their normal world and had a lot to learn. So there was a lot of nerves getting ready for that collaborative when they all had to take their CITP. So it's been very successful, and it's been great to continue to support it.
Thank you, Rhea. Thank you to you and Merritt's for continued support of site as well. Edda, I know you were talking about developing countries and how you think this entry-level certification would help them elevate them as well.
Yes, I wanted to follow up on Dana's point because, and when you look at the demand for CIS, and not just for CIS, for all site education, it's very clear that in countries like Taiwan or Latin America or Africa, the developing countries, it is such a easy tool to elevate your industry overall. In developing, for example, Turkey, it's a very developed touristic destination, but incentives require a whole different level of focus, and only through associations like site, these targeted educations is the way you can develop. So I think definitely, especially for the CIS, our introductory level certification, and the training that comes along with it, that people like Dana and Pat provide, thankfully. I think the reward is even better in developing countries, and I think they'll and I know Dana said that about a lot of the different destinations she's been to, and in Xiamen when we did the incentive, and you can talk about that, for example. So it's a very good tool for people, individuals or associations in destinations like that to take.
Great. And Edda's volunteering her time right now with a group of people to continue to update the CIS. And whenever we have a large group of people do the CIS or CITP, we're continuing to take that feedback. Brad is working with me and Daryl on CITP as well. So that continually gets updated with new questions every year. So again, this is all done by volunteer leaders who I can't thank enough for their time that they invest in the education for site. So one more question for my panel before we turn it over to live questions, and that is, in the selection of the DMC process, how do you look at their accreditations and their certifications of their company team? Rhea, can I ask you?
Yeah, thanks, Jen. Absolutely. We look at, it's really important to understand, not just how our professionals as individuals take, continuing to learn, continuing to give back to the industry, but also we look at, that's super important for companies, right? So we absolutely track with all of our DMC partners what associations they're involved with, what certifications that they have, because again, it shows their commitment to the industry. Whether it's something focused on their own industries, very specific to the DMCs, or it's something like a site, which is very important to us. And then again, looking at that certification, because like I mentioned with collaborative and offering it, the CIS and the CITP for a DMC or hotelier, you really have to learn more about the third parties. And so it's really, I think it's been very good. And I know us as a company, we think it's been very good to put them in our shoes a little bit, right? To understand all aspects of the incentive, the leading up to it, of the event itself, the post, so I think it really helps them too. It helps us work together, right? Because that we understand the different prerogatives better. So we absolutely look at it, and it's a super important thing that we track. We track it annually, actually, and ask our DMCs to always update for us kind of what their certifications are, what new associations are involved with, what they support. Again, it's just really shows their commitment to the industry.
No, I agree completely. Dana, as a corporate end user customer, are you looking in the same framework as Rhea?
Absolutely. When we look at a DMC, I got a great example of one down in Aruba, where several years ago we were doing a class and we went out to dinner one evening, and they were, the owners were talking about, of the DMC company, they were talking about how they train their people. Over half the class was from this one DMC. So as they were talking there over dinner, they were saying, we train our people and then some of them turn around and leave. I just couldn't resist the old joke. I was, well, wonder if you don't train them and they stay. So from that aspect, I said, you're making a huge investment in your employees. And it wasn't just the management of the organization. It was clear through the entire staff there at ECHO DMC. And so when they make that kind of investment, they're telling their employees, you're important to us, and we want you to deliver this to the customer. And I can tell you, using that DMC there on some programs, they definitely, the people at the front line really understand the experience design. They understand all aspects of the industry. And so it's not just their little world, but it goes beyond that. And they understand the hotel side. They understand the airlines, everything. It's just a blessing to sit there and listen to those folks. And again, they want to learn the industry so they can understand what a planner like me is going to want when we arrive. And it's just a great experience.
And I think you touched on a good point of, it doesn't have to be the size of Merits to invest in education. Both my companies, meaning Encore and Intuitive, we have an education bursary that's annual that and all of our employees get access to individual bursaries. So, even just that little bit, it doesn't have to be a large amount of money investing in your employees, no matter the size of your organization. Before I turn over to the live Q&A, Rhea?
Well, I just wanted to add to that, Jen, too. I think, right now, just to add, the other thing is a lot of the site chapters do offer the CIS at different times in the year. So it's also for the smaller organizations that maybe can't afford to have a lot of their people go through the certifications all at once. There's, get involved in the local chapters, because there's so many great opportunities to receive those tests at super discounted prices. Sometimes it comes with the event. So there's also other ways to get the certifications besides just taking on the cost as an individual or as an individual company. So.
Well, and like you said, even during this time, our chapters have had over 200 virtual events. So beyond the certification is just great education and conversation that's happened with them as well. Before I turn over to Q&A, is there anybody that has any closing thoughts that want to add anything to our conversation that I haven't covered today?
Well, one key word I think we've heard, and I've used it quite a bit here today, is just invest. And that's exactly what I see education, along with certification, is an investment in your future. You personally, as well as an organization, you're investing in your employees, and that speaks very well for the organization that wants to grow their employees.
Great. Yeah. Great. Well, I'll turn it back over to Aaron, and we'll go into live Q&A.
Certification is an investment in your future. You personally, as well as an organization, you're investing in your employees, and that speaks very well for the organization that wants to grow their employees.
Great. Yeah. Great. Well, I'll turn it back over to Aaron, and we'll go into live Q&A. So why don't we kick it off? We've got some great questions already in the Q&A as well. And the first one, and I'll tee it up to whoever wants to jump in. Unfortunately, not all of us that recorded that video earlier could jump back on today, but I do appreciate Patrick and Daryl and Rhea joining me again. And the question is, it's an individual who's now moving from the supplier side over to the event planner, corporate meeting planner side, and they want to know what advice you have to adapting to that new world through education or certification. Anybody want to take that one? Well, I can answer part of that because I did that. So I moved from the hotel side where I've been for 20 years over to the other side. The advice I have is just like everything, is continued lifelong learning. So and ask questions, because there's no dumb questions out there. Continue to ask your peers or other people around you for what kind of education they've invested in or how to do something, because faking it till you make it can blow up in your face. So just make sure that you are humble and ask for people's support and help as you're making that transition. And then my other advice would, don't forget where you came from. So anybody want to add to that? No? Okay. So the other one that somebody was asking too was where would they volunteer their time in order to get that experience that we're looking for, as that we talked about in our video. Without me just putting in that plug for CITE, volunteer for your local chapter member, but I'm sure there's a lot more creative ideas from the panelists. Does anybody want to jump in there?
Yeah, I can. Thanks, Jen. So I would say absolutely, right? Get involved with your local site chapter if you have one. There's also regional chapters too to look into, and there's a lot of fun ways to be involved, whether it's sitting on a fundraising committee or education committee, local involvement, whatever it is. So that's a great way to be involved in the industry. And then the other piece I would say is, depending on what aspect you're trying to kind of get more involved in, just in your own local community, like what are some things that are super important to you in your local community? And then could you offer to manage, you know, one of their events, one of their fundraising events, whether it's a 5K run or, you know, an auction or whatever it may be. So just different ways to run different events, get more involved, meet different people, I think helps. And it's always good too to bring the knowledge of this industry into the nonprofit world and help them out as well.
Absolutely. Patrick, do you have anything to add on that, where they can get?
I just echo what Ray and you mentioned earlier on, Jen. I think with a curious attitude and a humble acknowledgement that you never know everything, you're always in a learning opportunity, then you bring real value to people. And my gosh, is there ever been any time when the kind of positive, innovative style of thinking that exudes the people involved in our particular sector of the business is needed. So there's a whole plethora of volunteer organizations that are looking for that business acumen, but also looking for that enthusiasm and that way of looking at different and helping to change behavior. So I say absolutely go for it. People will bite your hand off. They're looking for people who put their hand up.
Yes. Once you say yes once, it's you end up in positions like this. But you know, the other thing I would say too is, it's, you know, you're talking about event planning skills or organizational skills. There's also a lot to be learned from being on a volunteer board. You know, I've done non-for-profit boards and boards like industry boards. And they teach you volunteer leadership skill sets as well. So that's another opportunity. But I would encourage you to find something that is of interest to you, because volunteerism takes a lot of time and dedication. Don't do it just for the title of being involved in a certain committee, because that actually is going to damage your reputation more than not volunteering at all. Would be my 2 cents. Daryl, did you want to add anything? I think you're on mute.
Yeah, just out there, and volunteering is a great way to do that. Going back to what Brad and Ria said, you know, as third-party planners, or people hiring as third-party planners, you know, if you've got that volunteer experience on your CV, it's certainly going to put you, you know, in the top sort of tier of those that are being considered. And it's fun, you know. Don't sit at home and wait for it to come to you. Get out there and do it, and then doors will open.
Well, I think too, it's beyond just the volunteering, you have to create your own opportunities. I talked about that at the Site Leader Conference, but you like starting your own business, and that, I mean, it could be something very basic that is passive income, or something that you're trying to create, or a contribution you're trying to make in your local community, like starting a little festival or event or something you can do. Like I live in a very small town that would welcome that. So how you can create your own opportunities, so you don't always have to seek them out. So I encourage you to do that. So looking at the questions here, George asked, will CITP be provided online? Yes, that's our goal, is to offer the exam online. The overview modules are available online, and currently there was another question about cost savings, etc. Right now, all of that education, both the Knowledge Hub and the CITP overview modules, are complimentary to our members. And then we will be doing Site Week. We just wrapped it up, and that was taking a very discounted cost for that exam down to $100. And it was a good way to support our members, and we'll look to do that again in 2021. Taking the CITP online, I would love to say that can be done really quickly, but there's time and money invested, and we're just focusing on real need initiatives for 2021. So I can't guarantee it's going to be done in the first quarter, but it's definitely a high priority for all of us on the board and the trustees. Teresa asks, for those of us who have CIS, how do we gain experience to qualify for CITP with the lack of work opportunities in COVID? Anybody want to take that one?
Well, I think, Teresa, we're back to that idea of making your own luck. And for sure, if you have the attitude, and you may not, unfortunately, always get paid for this work, but certainly if you have that initiative to offer your services and you're willing to get involved in a very concentrated and passionate way, you will get that experience, because there's no doubt about there's always more work than there are people. There are many people who volunteer in committees or volunteer to say that they'll do work, but not all of them follow through. So I think if you have the right attitude and you show, yes, you're dependable, you want to learn, you're willing to bring your skills, then you will get that work. Unfortunately, at this moment, I can't always say you'll get remunerated immediately financially, but you certainly will be remunerated by getting into that experience. And just one other thing, I think I certainly have found that when you're working on a community or when you're working on a project, you get to know people in a different way. You get to know them on a more personal level. You get to know them as people, and that exchange is really, really enriching. So it's not just that superficial basis of just, you know, carrying out a project. You really engage, and together you just grow from each other's learning.
No, absolutely. It's a great way to network too, and build a deeper relationship with people. That's how I've gotten to know all of you on the panel today better, is through volunteer leadership. And I also would look at different government funding programs. I know that you can look at for support for internships, so that you would come to an opportunity to an event planning agency and say, you know, I've looked into this. Would you be willing to take on an intern? The government pays this much money. So again, it's about creating your own opportunities these days, because that's the challenge we're going to have. There's many people, unfortunately, that are being furloughed in our industry. So to the next question, CIS training certification available online now because of COVID and limited in-person events. Where do we find the information? So CIS is actually already available online, and all of our education is available online, and it's just siteglobal.com, and just go to the education and certification portal for more information on that as well. So what else is here? I'd like to follow up on the question, if you were furloughed from April to June, does that disqualify you from CITP? No, you have to have a cumulative number of years experience, and you have to qualify to write for the exam, but no, it does not disqualify you from writing the CITP exam. So the next opportunity to write CITP is likely going to be in partnership with our global conference, which will be hybrid this year, which we're going to be announcing the dates of very shortly, but that'll be in the first quarter of 2021. So, and like I said, the education is available right now. My word of advice, because I've heard it from lots of people, is, and I said it in the video, is these are just topic starters. You definitely have to have demonstrative experience in order to write the exam, and always look at it from a North American outbound client perspective, and then you'll do fine. Okay, what else would anybody else? The other question that came in prior to was, you know, how do people stand out in the crowd right now? Because like I said, you're continually coming up when you're going to interviews, or where you're applying for a job, or even for a volunteer experience right these days. There's a lot of candidates available. So is any words of advice on how to stand out? Ria, do you want to take that one first?
It's a hard one, Jen. I don't know if I have anything that honestly that's jumping out to me. You know, I would say one thing is get your LinkedIn up to date. That's for sure, because I think people are paying more attention to that. It's easier than going and tracking down resumes. So make sure your LinkedIn is up to date. Use your networks, because you never know, in this huge world of ours, so many people are connected to other people, other opportunities. you're working on, you're looking into. So make sure you're using your LinkedIn wisely and all your connections. And I also feel like people are super active on LinkedIn right now. So there's a lot of great stuff to follow, to be involved with, to raise your hand, get more information, etc. So I would just say continue to use that. That would be one of my things of advice, I guess I would say, if that's helpful.
Great. Daryl or Patrick?
I'll just build on what Ria said. When you do find that opportunity, and invariably it will come through the site network. Somebody knows somebody who knows an opportunity. I'd say, there's never been a better time to be yourself. That might seem a little bit ironic, but in the past, maybe there was a preconceived idea of what success looked like and what talents were required. But my gosh, again, today, we wanted disruption, and did we get it? We got too much disruption. So it's very clear that the solutions are going to be provided by people who think differently, who are not the same as everybody else. And that usually is allowing that innate creativity, the innate sense of curiosity come out. And I think if you can demonstrate that, that's really going to be the X factor that people are going to look for. So, we're going back to basics. It's be yourself even more than you ever were before, particularly if you've got that attitude of being humble, of being curious, and being willing to learn. I think then you will stand out and you will find that opportunity through the site network.
Daryl, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, very, very simply, don't make the door open, push it open, get it out there, and whether it's volunteering, whether it's, just being, more publicly available, participating in webinars and whatever we can do, in the situation that's currently with us. And, the opportunities will return. So people may not be hiring now, but when they start hiring, and if you've been out there and you've been visible, you'll be front of mind. And that's kind of, I think some of our best employees over the years, they're people that we've met that have been not necessarily high-level people at an event we helped organize, but we've seen that they're willing to work, and they may be interns. And then we said, well, we need someone, and we know that person, and the opportunity then gets converted. So, don't give up, get out there, and hopefully things will work out.
Absolutely. Attitude is everything. We hire for attitude. I can train for anything else. Also, I think a couple other things that I like to see, and I know Colleen is joining us, and I've called her out already on the other armchair conversation I did with Jill, but she's done a really good job on LinkedIn, like Ria said, posting articles of interest in the industry that you're interested in, or commenting on people's LinkedIn posts. That's going to bring you up on a higher profile on LinkedIn, but it also, when I see that, I'm like, oh, Colleen's taking initiative, and she's continuing to keep in touch with what's going on in our industry right now. So kudos to Colleen. And then I think right now, for just reaching out to people, it's being mindful of their time, because people are busy. I'm busy doing lots of things and still making the money, but that's okay. Things will rebound. But it's the people that respect my time, but also do the little things like sending a handwritten card of thanks, or sending me an article of something that I commented on last time. That really shows that you're listening to people, and that demonstrative listening makes me think, oh, that's, she's very caring. She's versus just the sales email or the, are you hiring email kind of thing. So it definitely differentiates yourself. Aaron has a question from our Q&A. Is there a benefit for waiting for the next in-person CIS class versus taking the online? Well, it's kind of twofold. One, yes, there's a benefit to always meeting in person, face-to-face, because of the networking and the sidebar stories and the learnings. But right now's the time to invest in yourself. So I would encourage you to do it sooner than later, and then look at other opportunities that IMEX or a site global conference or somewhere else where you can do further education. But right now, I'd probably continue to invest in yourself. So we only have a few minutes left, so I'm just going to turn around back to the panel to give me a couple of closing thoughts before we head out on 4 o'clock on a weekend. And I know Patrick's dinner is probably waiting for him over in Ireland, and Daryl needs a glass of wine, and I'm sure Ria and I can have another glass of wine. So Patrick, why don't I start with you?
closing thoughts. I suppose, well, first of all, stay safe, but also stay curious. And I think if that need to look and learn is always present, then you will find the opportunities because they will be there. So I'd say, use the site network, and then within that network, as you rightly said, Jen, reach out in a very genuine and respectful way. And when you ask, I'm always surprised at the generosity of people, and in particular our community. They're really, really, we want to help, and we will help when we can.
Daryl?
I think, we're all going through a fairly tough time, probably the toughest time ever in our industry. And it's very easy to kind of withdraw. Don't do that. Keep yourself active, keep yourself out there. It is going to come right. We will be looking back on this one day. And don't fall through the cracks. Just stay connected. Use that network. And if you don't currently have, an employment opportunity, by the time we talk again, next time we do this, you will. So yeah, be strong, keep the faith. It'll come right one day.
Mm-hmm. Rhea?
And really just to, tag on to what both Patrick and Daryl have said, the reality is the key right now is staying connected with our community globally, and doing things like going through the CIS and dialing into the different webinars is a great way to stay connected. And so the more we can do that, I think the more that personal energy will help us move forward and be ready that when the face-to-face events are back in action, we will be ready with our even broader community than we already have, and have learned some new things along the way. So I agree, Patrick, it's always stay curious. I always enjoy learning new things. It keeps us curious, keeps us moving, keeps our brain growing, which is a good thing. So thank you, Jen. Thanks everybody too.
Welcome. I would echo all that as well. I mean, the community is funny when I'm looking at the names of who's joined us today. There's a friend that I worked with in Whistler in '92 on the list of people. So I was surprised to see Susan's name there. But that just says about how close and how small our industry is. So take care of each other. Reach out to people that that need an extra set of hands these days, or could use a cheer up. I'm always available for anybody who wants to cry, laugh, vent, whatever you need, to our site family members and anybody else. So just wishing you all a very good weekend. Erin, I will turn it over to you to wrap it up for all of us.